Hi, my name is Diane Zeman, and I'm the physics teacher here at GWU OHS. And I want to take a moment to answer the question I most commonly get: how do you teach online? Do you just grade their papers when they send them in and send them back? And my answer is no. It is so much more fun and so much more gratifying than that. I do many of the same things that I did as a brick and mortar teacher. So let me give you a tour of the online classroom. We'll start with the teacher view, what I see as a teacher, and then we'll take a look at what students see as well. So join me in the online classroom. Here's a shot of the online classroom from the teacher view. I have my camera turned off at the moment, but if a student logs in, a student will come to a screen where it has the teacher's camera on, and the students have the ability to turn their camera on as well. And we can have just a screen full of pictures, as you have maybe seen in the Zoom classroom. It looks the same in our classroom. Our classrooms are through Neuro, which is a presentation and classroom software. And what we are able to do is a teacher can present a PowerPoint just like you could in your regular classroom. A teacher can write on the board. So I can write on my PowerPoint whatever I would want to highlight or point out. Many times you'll see me using the pointer because I'm just wanting them to follow, just as in the classroom, what is our objectives and what's the agenda of what we are going to do today, much like you would do in the online classroom. Now, I can also allow students to use the whiteboard. So as I have also a student logged in, the student view, they can use the whiteboard tools and they too can write on the board. And it will appear, and all students can collaborate on this question: what are some things you think about when you think of energy? Now, I always joke that I talk about coffee because that gives me my energy, but that's another story. Now, they can also work on questions on the board. Here is an example of when I was in the classroom. I blocked out my students' names to keep for their privacy, but I had a student working on the board and they had written the equations necessary. They had written, what they were thinking, and they were able to talk on their microphone because, as you can see, the students have capabilities to turn on their camera and to turn on their mic. Now, if their mic doesn't work or they are unable, there is also the room chat that they are allowed to carry on a conversation and answer questions just like you would in the normal classroom. So if I was a student, now again, I'm using my student view over here, you can see that if I turn and read the room chat, hi everyone, and you can use emojis and interact with the other students in the classroom. Another way that we can do the exact same things that you would do in a brick and mortar classroom is the use of breakout rooms. You break into small groups many times in the online classroom or in the brick and mortar classroom, but also in the online classroom we have that same ability. After, as you see, I've gone through slid through many slides along the side here, but after we've gone through the topic and after we have gone through how to work the problems, how to make some connections, I'm going to send my students in groups to breakout rooms to make some connections and actually be able to verbalize them to their classmates, and then we will come back together and go over the slides. And how that is done in the online classroom is what we call breakout rooms. But I want you to see the other tools that we have available to us. We have a whiteboard just like you would in the regular brick and mortar classroom, and perhaps you don't want to present a PowerPoint one day, you want to have a discussion over a topic, or you want to just work off your notes and do a lesson that way. We can share our desktop. We are able to do online demonstrations. We can use in the physics classroom the PHET simulations, which are great for showing things that, not everybody can work with a light tube or a laser, but you can find simulations where that is available to you online. I can give a quiz. I have a library of videos. And it also has this recording feature. And once we're done looking at the breakout rooms, I will show you that every lesson we give to our students is recorded, and they have the ability to go back and listen to the recordings, or if they had to miss class, they can go and listen to the recording, and they have much the same benefit as someone that was in the classroom, minus being able to interact and have their questions answered if they happen to have one. But if I wanted to put students in breakout rooms, I can choose a number of rooms and how I assign my students, or I can simply move them into breakout rooms. And once I do that, they would be with a group of students and they could discuss the slide. Here is an example of breakout rooms that I used in my class with that exact same slide. 5 students per room, and I had 5 rooms of students where they could go through those four questions and discuss the connections between the answers after they calculated them, and come back and we had a discussion with regards to the relationship between work, potential energy, and kinetic energy. It was a good way to see the students make the connections and not just me telling them the connections. Now, a student, when they are, when we're in a live class, they can raise their hand saying, wait a minute, I have a question. And they didn't want to hop on the mic and interrupt me, but you can see over here on my view, this is showing me that the student view has a question, and I would stop and I would address the student. Another way that the student can ask a question is in the question and answer. So I'm just going to put the word how from my student and enter it. And if you look down here, you see that I got this little icon with a 1 on it, meaning there's a question in there that needs to be answered. Now I can choose as a teacher to answer that question right here and reply to it, or I can say, you know what, this is a good question and it's something that the whole class would benefit from. So I would go ahead and just say that, to the student, you know what, student, I am going to answer your question for everyone because I don't think you're the only one with that question, and this would do well for all of us to hear the answer. And interactions that you would see in your normal classroom are much the same as what we have here in the online classroom. Now, most of my lessons, in fact, all of my lessons, once they're recorded, there is an exit ticket, much like you would have in the regular classroom, where they are showing the ability to do the questions from the material that was presented that day. And if I want to put their hand down, there we go. Just when I see that, I want to stop. So there's 2 questions here that deal with what we were covered in class, and they would be answered by the student. Those that watch our recordings here, you can see that this is being recorded. The students that watch the recording, because they couldn't attend the live class, it is required that they do these exit tickets to show that they watched the lesson, they comprehended the material, and this is how that they can get credit for coming to class. I hope you enjoyed this tour of the online classroom.